Most people think Sweden is the epitome of safety, order, and social harmony. But the truth, parts of the country are changing so fast, some neighborhoods now feel more like a failed experiment than a Scandinavian paradise. How did a nation famous for IKEA and EBBA end up facing skyrocketing crime, social tensions, and political chaos? Is Sweden still the model society we have been told about, or is it quietly transforming into something unrecognizable? Today, we are uncovering the shocking realities, the hidden numbers, and the forces reshaping this once stable country. Over the past 2 decades, Sweden has been celebrated as a global success story, a wealthy, peaceful nation with one of the highest standards of living in the world. Its social welfare system, progressive policies, and reputation for safety have attracted migrants, investors, and tourists alike. But behind the idyllic postcards of Stockholm's clean streets and Gothenburg's modern skyline, deeper tensions have been building. Crime rates in certain urban areas have surged dramatically. According to Sweden's National Council for Crime Prevention, shootings and gang-related incidents have more than doubled in the past 10 years. Social cohesion is fraying as some communities struggle with unemployment, integration challenges, and the pressures of rapid demographic change. Politically, Sweden is facing growing polarization, with parties on both the left and right warning of societal fragmentation. Economically, the stakes are just as high. High welfare spending and an aging population are putting unprecedented pressure on the country's finances. Meanwhile, small businesses and local communities feel the strain of balancing economic growth with social stability. The tension is clear. Can Sweden maintain the model society it has long promoted? Or are the forces reshaping it pushing the nation toward a very different future? In this video, we'll explore how these social, economic, and political pressures are converging and why what happens in Sweden could be a warning sign for other countries around the world. But if we step back and stop thinking about Sweden as just a rich, peaceful country, what if we view it purely through the lens of societal resilience? The ability of a nation to absorb shocks, integrate diverse populations, and maintain social trust. From this perspective, wealth alone doesn't guarantee stability. History shows us that even the most prosperous societies can unravel if economic pressures, demographic changes, and cultural tensions collide. Sweden isn't just facing isolated problems, it's a test case for how modern nations handle rapid transformation, and the lessons here could apply for beyond Scandinavia. Let's look at some concrete examples of how these pressures are playing out in Sweden today. First, take Stockholm, Sweden's capital and economic hub. Once celebrated for its safety and order, certain districts like Rinkeby and Tensta have become flashpoints for social unrest. Between 2015 and 2023, Stockholm saw a 70% increase in gang-related crimes in these areas, including shootings and violent assaults. Local businesses report higher insurance costs and security expenses, while residents express growing frustration over inadequate policing. The contrast is striking. In the same city known globally for innovation and quality of life, some neighborhoods now feel like conflict zones. Next, Malmö, Sweden's third largest city, offers another case. Often called the gateway city due to its proximity to Denmark, Malmö has struggled with unemployment among younger populations, particularly immigrants. Statistics show that youth unemployment in Malmö can reach 30% in certain districts, double the national average. Social programs have attempted to bridge the gap, but integration has been uneven, leaving pockets of disenfranchised communities vulnerable to crime and radicalization. On a national level, Sweden's welfare system, one of the most generous in the world, is under mounting pressure. With an aging population, government spending on pensions, healthcare, and social benefits has steadily risen. In 2022, Sweden spent over 25% of its GDP on social programs, compared to the OECD average of 21%. While this maintains a safety net for many, critics argue it also creates incentives for dependency and strains the economy, particularly when coupled with uneven tax contributions across different groups. Finally, consider Sweden in a global context. Many Western nations face similar challenges, but few have experienced the rapid demographic and social shifts Sweden has seen in such a short time. Cities like Paris, Brussels, and Berlin show parallels: rising gang activity, integration struggles, and political polarization. But Sweden's combination of wealth, social liberalism, and high immigration makes it a uniquely visible canary in the coal mine. These examples show a nation caught in a paradox: economically strong, globally admired, yet grappling with real-world fractures that threaten the very stability it prides itself on. So how did Sweden get here? To understand the transformation, we need to look at the underlying mechanisms that are quietly reshaping the country. At the heart of the issue is a combination of demographics, economics, and social policy, each amplifying the other. First, demographics. Sweden has welcomed a large number of immigrants over the past 2 decades, over 2 million people since 2000. Many arrived fleeing conflict zones in the Middle East and Africa, which was a humanitarian success. But integration hasn't always kept pace. When communities struggle to find work, access education, or feel socially included, the result is predictable: higher unemployment, youth disenfranchisement, and the emergence of parallel societies. Think of it like pouring water into a funnel that's too narrow. The water doesn't flow evenly, it spills over the edges. Second, economics. Sweden's generous welfare system is designed to protect everyone, but high benefits combined with uneven labor market participation create structural pressures. A study by the Swedish Institute for Policy Studies shows that some immigrant-heavy districts have long-term unemployment rates over 20%. Compared to the national average of under 7%. High welfare reliance without employment pathways can unintentionally reduce incentives to join the workforce, creating pockets of economic stagnation. Then there's the crime dynamic. Increased social isolation and limited opportunities in certain areas have contributed to gang formation and criminal networks, which thrive in environments where the state's presence feels distant. Shootings and bombings, once unthinkable in Sweden, have become alarmingly frequent. Experts liken this to a pressure cooker effect. As tensions build inside tightly packed communities, any spark, whether economic, social, or political, can trigger explosions of violence. Finally, let's connect this to political polarization. Rising crime and social fragmentation feed public anxiety, which in turn strengthens extremist political voices on both the left and right. Surveys show that trust in the police and government institutions in certain urban areas has dropped by nearly 25% over the last decade, undermining Sweden's traditional social cohesion. Put together, these forces create a feedback loop: integration challenges to economic stagnation, to social unrest, to political tension, and to further societal fragmentation. Imagine a perfectly balanced scale. One side represents wealth and opportunity, the other social cohesion. When too much weight accumulates on one side without careful adjustment, the scale tips, and Sweden's tipping point is closer than many realize. So what can Sweden do to prevent parts of the country from sliding further into instability, and perhaps even reverse some of the damage? There isn't a single fix, but a combination of targeted solutions could help restore balance. First, investment in integration programs. Sweden can take cues from countries like Canada, which has successfully combined immigration with strong language training, mentorship programs, and employment pathways. By ensuring new arrivals gain skills and access to the labor market quickly, economic participation rises and social tensions decrease. The trade-off: these programs require significant funding and coordination, and results may take years to show. But without them, marginalized communities risk remaining trapped in cycles of unemployment and isolation. Second, localized policing and community engagement. Some cities in the US, like Boston and New York, have implemented neighborhood-focused policing strategies that build trust between law enforcement and residents. This doesn't just reduce crime, it empowers communities to identify and address problems early. The challenge is balancing law enforcement presence without alienating residents or fueling perceptions of over-policing. Third, economic incentives and entrepreneurship programs. Encouraging small business creation in high-risk districts can provide jobs, strengthen local economies, and give youth alternatives to criminal networks. Sweden could adopt strategies similar to Germany's vocational apprenticeship model, which ties education directly to employment opportunities. The trade-off here is that it requires coordination between government, private sector, and educational institutions and may take years to impact crime statistics meaningfully. Fourth, urban planning and social infrastructure. Improving housing quality, transportation, and public spaces can foster community cohesion. Cities like Copenhagen have successfully designed neighborhoods that encourage interaction across socio-economic and cultural lines, reducing the formation of isolated pockets of unrest. The challenge: large-scale urban redesign is costly and slow, and existing communities may resist change. Taken together, these solutions suggest a multi-pronged approach. Invest in people, strengthen institutions, and redesign spaces to encourage social cohesion. No single measure will solve everything, but combining them could stabilize neighborhoods, reduce crime, and help Sweden regain the social trust it has long been known for. Even with these solutions, there is no magic formula. Every approach comes with trade-offs and limitations. Investing heavily in integration programs and social infrastructure requires enormous public spending, which can strain Sweden's already high-tax economy. Political consensus is another hurdle. Policies that seem necessary to some may spark fierce opposition from others, fueling further polarization. Human behavior is unpredictable. Even the best designed programs can fail if communities resist participation or if criminal networks adapt faster than interventions. And while economic incentives and entrepreneurship programs create opportunities, they cannot instantly erase years of social fragmentation or the distrust that has built up in some neighborhoods. In short, Sweden faces a delicate balancing act: improving safety, promoting social cohesion, and sustaining economic prosperity, all while respecting civil liberties and maintaining public trust. Complex problems like this demand nuanced long-term strategies rather than quick fixes. One misstep could tip the balance, but careful, coordinated action could steer the country back towards stability. So, whether or not you care about Sweden's picturesque streets or its reputation as a model society, it's clear that beneath the surface, serious pressures are reshaping the country. Rising crime in urban areas, integration challenges, economic strains, and political polarization aren't just statistics, they are warning signs. Sweden's experience shows that even the wealthiest, most stable nations can face sudden social fractures if complex problems aren't addressed with foresight and coordination. The urgency is real. If Sweden fails to act effectively, the consequences could include growing social unrest, weakened institutions, and neighborhoods that feel less like part of a cohesive nation and more like isolated zones of instability. And the bigger question looms for the rest of the world: are other nations prepared to handle the same challenges before it's too late? If you want to see how another wealthy, stable country is facing unexpected challenges, this time from an economic perspective, check out our next video: why entrepreneurs are fleeing Norway's perfect economy, but Norway still has no problem with it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video uncovering the hidden forces reshaping nations around the world.